gentlemen, the following presentation is brought to you by Mr. Main Event Brian Waters and the real Dwayne Alley. The Wrestling Wrealm, the show for the intelligent wrestling fans. Off the top rope, I dwell in the wrestling realm. Like Jake stay in the snake pit and Kane be in hell. Like Jacob stay in the graveyard and Punk in the shy. Call me Snooker cause I'm super and fly. You can hate all you want, but I'm flossing. The Miz said I'm awesome, and I'm upholding the law just like the big boss man. With Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, the real Dwayne Allen. Toss you over the border like Hernandez, Mandez, pressing the stands. It's the show for the intelligent wrestling fans. Hitman like Hawk, but I'm not from Calgary. I'm all about the bill, so let that gold shower me, empower me like Farouk and the nation. If you don't know your history, then you should change the station. But if you do, you can cruise to YouTube / the wrestling realm. Your lessons are stale. Say the same old lines, man, you destined to fail. Like the Shockmaster or the wrestler Nails. I'm a heartbreak kid, and my bid to be champion is unmatched. Anybody step, I'm face planting them. With Mr. Main Event and the real Dwayne, you the sisters of love, we the powers of pain. You see we coming with a spear while you're monkey flipping. It's Brian Waters, Dwayne Allen, and your boy Trenton. And that's just how the story goes. That's just how the story goes. It's the wrestling realm, baby. The Wrestling Wrealm. Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, the real Dwayne Allen. And I'm your boy Trent CMG. You know what it is, baby. Let's go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of the Wrestling Realm. He is the indie specialist, the indie correspondent, Mr. Brandon Guy. I am Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, and this is our special indie segment, which today we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about the Alpha and Omega of wrestling, which is the independent circuit. Alpha and Omega, for people that don't know, means the beginning and the end. There are two Greek letters. You start off the Greek alphabet with it, and you end the Greek alphabet. It's like how A through Z, but it really means the beginning and end. So when you think about the Alpha and Omega, think about it. Everybody starts in the independent circuit. Some people end in the independent circuit. And what that means is, think about certain people like, I don't know, maybe like, Matt Hardy will be at the Shamrock Cup this Saturday. He started with Omega Wrestling, his own wrestling company. Went always to WWE, went to TNA, and now he's back in the indie scene. Just like, and I hate to sound like I'm on the Hardy bandwagon, Lita started in Maryland, at Maryland Championship Wrestling. Then she went on to greater things in the WWE, one of the top divas in the WWE, when divas were becoming cool, and divas were wrestlers, and not just pretty faces. Then she came back home. Been trying to break back in, but really haven't seen much from Lita. So what I'm saying that to say is, a lot of people don't understand that your independent circuits are important. A year ago, if I told you Claudio was going to the WWE, you'd be like, oh, okay. Him and Chris Hero. Now granted, Chris Hero is still in FCW, but Claudio's on SmackDown actively. Hey, shout out to somebody who's been on, I think he's done what no wrestler have done, within a week was in WWE, and now TNA, and guaranteed a spot on the pay-per-view. I'm talking about Black G's Chris Sabin. This man has busted his butt in every... Did I say Chris Sabin?
You did say
I mean
Chris
Sabian. I'm sorry. Black G's Chris Sabin. I said it again. Black G's Sabian. And that was because I want to talk about Chris Sabin as well.
And now he's Rashard Patterson.
Yes.
Not from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but from Philly. And I don't know the zip code.
But here's the thing about Sabian.
Pretty sure I got it somewhere.
Sabian has been in just about every independent circuit that you could think of. From CZW to Pfeiffer to Shakara to MCW, RCW, I always said CZW. He's been everywhere. Been a champion everywhere. Now the only thing that I discredit Sabian for, he's never been a world champion anywhere down there. He's always been the second tier or cruiserweight because he's a smaller guy, but the guy can go. The guy can wrestle. I'm excited to see how far he'll go in this tournament. I'm glad he's there with his, because I really want to see him and Sanjay Dutt turn up the ring, because them two have a long history together in the independent circuit, and because they're good friends. You know, generally when wrestlers wrestle their friends, they have better matches.
Hence the guy on your shirt and the late Chris Benoit.
Right. When you have friends wrestling, you have some of the best matches.
Trust.
Right.
Just like two guys who will be at the Shamrock Cup, Derek Frazier and Ruckus.
Yes. These two guys, and if anybody knows that independent wrestling, have been up and down the East Coast. Ruckus has even been the first GPW champion in Germany, who he beat Christopher Daniels for the belt when they actually crowned a champion. He's been to Japan. He's been up and down the East Coast, been a world champion anywhere that he can be. But the thing about these two guys, they don't want to go to the WWE or TNA. They're okay with what they're doing because they love what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They love pleasing the fans. And the thing is, one of them is a 2006 winner, one's a 2008. In 2006, myself and Brian had the chance of actually watching them. They were the last two in the finals of the Shamrock Cup.
Yeah.
And I would say, okay, so this is how the Shamrock Cup works. You have a series of qualifying matches, and then you get to the final, which is a cup, and it's a six-way battle. In this six-way battle, now Brian will correct me if I'm wrong, it was Josh Daniels, Chris Sabin, Jerry Lynn, was Petey Williams, Derek Frazier, and Ruckus. It was those six in the finals. Mm-hmm. And it got down to Derek Frazier and Ruckus. When I say the locker room emptied out and these guys tore down the house, it was probably, and I'm not saying this because they're good friends of mine, this was probably the best six-way match I've seen ever.
Well, since you're talking about the Shamrock Cup, let's enlighten people. What is the Shamrock Cup?
The Shamrock Memorial Cup is actually a cup that MCW started because their last light heavyweight champion passed away, and they did this to honor him. Mm-hmm. And he was an outstanding guy, great wrestler. I would encourage anybody to look up the Shamrock Cup and see all the details to it because I don't want to bore everybody with it. But he was a great wrestler, and he was a cruiserweight. So what they did a few years in 2006 and 2007, what they did was the winner of the cup became the cruiserweight champion. Okay. All in one. That's how Chris Sabin went into the match as the champion and then left. Okay. He wasn't a champion. And that's when Ruckus won the cup and the title at one time. Okay. And what I'm saying about Alpha Omega being the cruiserweight, for Indys, think about some of the people that you see in the independent circuit. It's like, soon as they're in the WWE, it's like, oh, wow, great, they made it. Then it's like, oh, wow, they're gone. Let's book them again. Mm-hmm. Let's bring them back home. Because I'm telling you right now, if CM Punk left the WWE right now, he would probably, his first booking would be in Ring of Honor. Yeah. Which brings me to my point of, and this is a question for you, and Mr. Dwayne Allen as well. When you see this, I want you to think about this. If TNA would have been around when WCW was on that downfall, do you think the WWE would still be number one? And this is the TNA that started with TNA wrestlers. Not the TNA going out and getting Kurt Angle and Sting and Bischoff and Flair and all that. No, I'm talking about the pure TNA. When it was just the X Division, the World Champion, and the Tag Team Champion. And it was the NWA, TNA, and TNA. Do you still think the WWE, or would the WWE have been forced to evolve, or would they be number one, or would TNA give them a run for their money?
It all depends, because one thing you have to look at, WWE always will evolve no matter what. They are, not to say they're the end-all be-all wrestling, but in a sense they kind of are, because they are, they are light years ahead of everybody. Mm-hmm. With advertising, sponsors, they're publicly traded company. Publicly traded company. So, with TV-wise, ratings-wise, yeah, they would have had a run for their money. We've seen another Monday Night Wars possibly. Maybe, but not to the capacity of what we saw in 96, 97, 98. But we would have seen something. I don't think the company would be in the state that they are now. I think, and that is TNA, I think they would have continued to evolve with their younger superstars. Because, I asked the real Dwayne Allen that question the other day when we did our segment on TNA. Where would they be had WCW? But you got to look at it. A lot of those guys we wouldn't have had an invasion angle, because a lot of those guys, when they got bought out, would have went to, there was another place to go, so they would have went with Jeff Jarrett.
Well, would they? Because remember, one thing that you have to credit Jeff Jarrett for, he built his own wrestlers. He took somebody from an independent circuit and made them into stars. He took guys like Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Petey Williams, Elix Skipper, Christopher Daniels. He took guys like that, Chris Harris, and James Storm. He took guys like that and made them the face. And then he brought guys like D'Lo Brown, Ken Shamrock, Jerry Lynn, who were here, never really got here in the WWE, but he said, these are the guys I know can do it.
But what about the younger talent? Let's see, who did we have back then that was somewhat young? Let's look at you had your Chavo Guerreros, you had your Shane Helms, you had your, boy.
But remember, they were already established in WCW. I'm talking about he went out and found guys and made them TNA born and raised.
Oh, and I can understand.
And that's what I'm saying, like
from.
AJ Styles. Yes, everybody knows AJ was in WCW, but was he in WCW long enough to actually have a stamp or say that he did something? No.
So you think Jarrett, what you're basically saying is you think Jarrett would have only stayed with people who could have made a name for themselves and not had the WCW stigma?
Yeah, he made a whole new brand. He took people like Rhino and made him a world champion. He made R-Truth, Ron Killings, whatever you want to call him, a world champion. He made guys that were almost here. The only thing I discredit Jeff Jarrett for is not letting D'Lo Brown hold it. But then that might be D'Lo saying, no, I just want to build up these guys. I had my time. I did good. Because remember, D'Lo even left, went back to the WWE, and then came back to TNA.
So let's take this further. What if you never put Hogan and Flair and everybody else who, Hall, Nash, X-Pac, even, God rest his soul, Savage. What if we never put them in TNA? And would it continue to build from the Indies wrestlers?
I believe so, because when you put people like that, when you put a Hogan and a Flair in there, first off, you're taking two icons and stuffing them into a little company. We already have one icon of Sting. They don't have the capacity to hold that because they were building their talent. You had guys who weren't on contracts or on a show-by-show basis where I'm going to pay you for these 10 shows, or you still have to do other work because we don't have full contracts for you, where the WWE can house an Undertaker, a Stone Cold, a Rock, can hold these global phenomenons because they are a global market. TNA was still building with the independent mind frame, but with the big, I have a show on every week, I have endorsement, I have this. They didn't need, I honestly think when Hogan, the Flair, the Bischoff, all those came in, that's what killed TNA. Because think about it.
They
now
should
you
be competing by now.
Right. Now you had
10 years later.
And I'll take it to a step further. You had somebody like a Hernandez who they were pushing. They changed his whole look. They made him wear trunks instead of shorts. He was the number one contender for the title. They were pushing him to it, and then it was like, oh, that's okay because RVD is here. That's okay because Mr. Anderson is here. Oh, it's okay because we got Jeff Hardy back. Oh, it's okay, we got Kurt Angle. It's okay, we got Sting.
So this is
and
my
it just kept burying him down, down, and down because you wanted to bring these stars. And I don't mean to harm Mr. Anderson. No way, shape, or form should have ever been world champion. I'm sorry, he botches too much. He doesn't sell. That whole asshole angle is boring, and that's just my opinion. It's just he doesn't have the right fit, me personally, to TNA because if you think about it, remember his finisher was the Swanton Bomb.
Right.
And then what else does he do? The mic check. Okay, what is the mic check?
But let's go further.
No, I mean, what exactly is the move? It's the stroke. So, I mean, he's not himself. And the thing is, I think that if they didn't have the Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff absorbing it, because Hulk Hogan, as great as he is, he has to be seen. He has to be heard. He has to be up. Look how many times Hulk Hogan comes up.
And rightfully so, because if you pay tickets to a company that Hogan's a part of, you're going to want to see him.
Yes, you're going to want to see him, but not 3-4 times in a night. And not, he comes out and does, because you're a Hulk Hogan fan, but not when he comes out and I don't want to say he's putting himself over, because Hogan is already over anyway. But at this point, if you're going to come out and cut a promo at the beginning, I don't need to see the hidden camera angle of your office. I don't need you to come out there and say, hey, brother, this is not going to go down this way. This is what's going to happen. It's too much. Okay. Because that little promo of you in the back, that could have been Eric Young versus Christopher Daniels for the X Division title. I'm just throwing something out there. You know what I mean? That time wasted, just like if we had more titles, it would be more time wasted because, remember, Eric Young was he was the legend and the global champion, and then it became the TV title, and then it was like, okay, who cares?
So